What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Bat Flip, where we discuss everything baseballs. A great weekend of college baseball, not only in Houston, but the rest of the country. I just love seeing college baseball grow. And it seems like fan bases are really buying into the sport. Maybe it helps that MLB is being the MLB. But yeah, it's really cool to see. And this is a good weekend for Tennessee to really prove that they belong inside that top 10. We all thought they should be up there, but I guess they need a little bit more convincing to do to D1 Baseball and Baseball America. And D1 Baseball today released their rankings, and Tennessee is at number 9. So jumps up, or is it number 10? Number 10?
I think it's 10. I think
Yeah, they're number
basketball's
10.
9.
Yeah, that's right. Only program in America that has a top 10 baseball team, top 10 basketball team. So that's pretty cool. This weekend, I know Friday didn't go as planned. You ran into a really great Texas team at their best on Friday night. True freshman on the mound. Chase Burns absolutely shoved it. Hate that he couldn't get the win. Tennessee just really didn't have the bats going. And, we'll get into that a little bit, but it seems like you kind of took it out on your next opponents, especially after Baylor went up 4-0. The last 18 innings that you played in Houston, Tennessee had 18 runs, 17 innings. Tennessee had 18 runs, and opponents had just one. So pretty phenomenal, pretty dominant those last 17 innings. Those, after the first inning or I guess during that first inning, just the top half of that first inning at Baylor, the rest of us pretty smooth sailing and just taking care of business on Tennessee's part. So what are some things that you kind of saw this weekend in Houston?
I was going to say we took care of the Big 12, but you've got a Big 12 SEC crossover right now. We've got Texas, Oklahoma, Big 12, 2 SEC, Baylor. We don't know what they'll do. I guess they're Big 12 still. But, I mean, it good weekend overall, I think. Like you said, the bats weren't really working against Texas, but, I mean, you kind of have to wonder how much that's your bats, how much is you're going against the number one team in the country. And I mean, I think we played like a top 10 team. Obviously, Baseball America, D1 Baseball, whoever it is, out of the thousands of rankings, it looks like consensus pretty close. We're a top 10 team now. So I think you got 90% of what you came for. I mean, you wanted the retribution against Texas, but you had a freshman starting who still performed really well, I think. And you've seen that not only him, but we'll get in. I know I'll definitely get into Drew Beam later. You saw 2 young guys that, like we've said before, just keeps the excitement going for the young core that we've got. So you wanted to beat Texas, but I mean, like you said, you took it out the next 2 games.
Yeah, let's go game by game, kind of break this down a little bit. So number 1 Texas Friday night, dropped that one 7-2. It was 1-1 going into the 6th inning. Chase Burns just shoved it against the number 1 team in the country. Pitched 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 10 Ks. You go to Camden Sewell, who's been your workhorse, kind of that Sean Hunley type guy since the beginning of this season, and even, played a little bit of that role last season as well. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't. You maybe, like, looking back on it, yeah, maybe you ride Chase Burns another inning. But, I mean, Camden Sewell has all the trust in the world, and I think he would admit that he didn't have his best stuff that night. But, it is what it is. I mean, that's a really good pitcher. I feel good about a game going into the 6th inning, tied 1-1 with the number 1 team in the country with Camden Sewell on the mound.
Yeah, there's not much of a better situation that you could ask for than that. I mean, that's the number 1 team in the country playing like the number 1 team in the country. They didn't slack off. You had to. I wonder if you left Burns in, but I mean, honestly, we haven't really seen him. We haven't seen him pitch a complete game shutout, anything like that yet. So you don't really know, especially with a freshman. Maybe the 5th inning is his limit. Maybe it's the 6th inning where the same thing would have happened anyway, and maybe it's better that it didn't happen to him as a freshman right then. Maybe, a guy like Camden Sewell, he'll be fine. Like he gave up a few runs. He's done it before in his career. It won't be the last time either. But I mean, maybe it's a blessing in disguise that it didn't happen to Burns, and maybe that shakes his confidence a little bit. You get him out with 10 Ks right there, so he's. I mean, I know he's a competitor. He wants to win just as bad as anybody on this team does, but I feel like he probably felt pretty good about himself leaving the game, even if he did get pulled a little bit earlier than he wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a guy that Camden Sewell is a guy you're going to ride with, and I think Texas probably got some confidence when they didn't see Chase Burns back on the mound. So, if that doesn't happen that inning, if you go out with Chase Burns, he's got to come out eventually. So he comes out, after the sixth, does the same thing happen in the seventh? I mean, who knows? Like I said, woulda, shoulda, coulda, didn't. What didn't happen was Tennessee's bats weren't hot. I think your first two batters combined 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts. So usually when you have that, that's recipe for probably a loss. And then your 8 and 9 hole hitters had 4 of your 7 hits. I mean, you're not going to win a lot of games with that kind of production, especially against one of the best pitching rotations in the country in Texas and best teams as well. So just a tough loss. Yeah, like you said, kind of wanted to get that revenge, but didn't. But the good news now. Do you have anything left for Texas before we move on to Baylor?
No, not really. I mean, I was impressed with Burns. I think most of the country was impressed with Chase Burns after that. So, no, I don't have anything else really. I mean, you like to get the win, but you made up for it the next 2 days.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I would like to kind of throw out there, replaying baseball. I mean, you want to grow the sport. The length of time it takes to do a replay is not the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for. If you've seen any of my past tweets, you know that I'm all for reviews. I mean, I want you to do whatever you have to do to get the call right. But I mean, I go back to I think it was Sunday, the foul ball that Trey Lipscomb ran all over the stands, over third base. I think he went down in the dugout in the clubhouse, went to the bathroom, came back up, and still had time to catch it. When it's obvious, it hit off the rafters up there. I mean, it worked out in Tennessee's favor, but that's one of those times where you're like, common sense has to take over at some point. The ball is in the air for 12 seconds. I mean, I know there were a ton of replays, so maybe we'll get in the rest of them, but that was the main one to me where I'm like, well, what are we doing here? Like, let's get the umpires together, make the correct call, use common sense, and you don't have to use replay on that, because with the camera angles you've got, and you know what angles you've got because you've seen them all weekend, and with the amount of replays you've done, you're not going to see anything there that's going to be able to change a call. So what are we doing there?
Yeah, I just don't get like the one where it was a ball in the dirt. Evan Russell throws, which is a phenomenal play, throws the ball, just Ortega from his knees. They call him safe. It was bang, bang play. You slow it down, you immediately saw he's out. Like, it shouldn't take that long to piece it together. That was an easy one that I was just like, man, this is taking way too long. He's out. Move on. Slow it down, make the call, and then let's get back to playing baseball. I just don't understand why it's taking so long. I don't know. Is that a way where the umpires just feel better about it? They're like, well, they're going to hate us even overturning a call.
Yeah, it's the one thing I've said with umpires and football officials too in replay. It's you can't be scared of being shown up when the video shows you were incorrect. I mean, that's what it's there for. I think too many umpires take it way too personally that a call gets changed that they've made when I'd like to have an intervention and say it's like a parent talking to the kid. It's like we're not mad. We're not even. I was gonna say we're just disappointed. We're not even disappointed. Like you messed up and you didn't really know that you messed up. You didn't see it. Like, but we have this tool here that can help you out. And it's like they turn their nose up to it. Like, no, I'd rather deal with the consequences of my bad call than be like, oh, yeah, I may have missed that one. Let's get that one right. It baffles me. I don't understand it, especially from. I mean, most of these officials are at least 30 years old. I mean, they're grown men. I don't understand where the disconnect is in that in any sport. But that's my rant for the night.
Yeah, I kind of like to think of it as autocorrect. Like it's
Yeah,
it's there to help you, like you said. It's the game is fast. These are bang bang plays. If you make a mistake, it's there to correct it. Like it's when you turn it in, when the game's finished, they don't look at like, oh, look how many calls they had to overturn because
yeah.
they couldn't get it right. No one cares.
If you
Just like when
miss
you turn
every
in a
call,
paper and you use autocorrect 1,000 times, that teacher has no clue.
yeah. If you miss every call, and we have to correct every call, yeah. I mean it. I'm not mad, but I would have to wonder, like, how did you get to this level
Yeah.
of this sport? But at the end of the day, like, if the call's correct, like, hey, no harm, no foul. Now you
Right.
may not work a game again at this level, but at least the calls are right.
Yep.
It's what it's there for.
Well, you want to real quick on the last thing on replay. Dylan mentioned is it the ref that doesn't want to be wrong, or is it the guys in Birmingham that don't want their officials to be wrong? Because I think in baseball everything's done in Birmingham, right? In SEC play.
That
Yes.
I want to say yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So is it more of they don't want, because I mean I don't know who has the final say in that situation. I would think the person that can see the camera the best. I hope in football it's not the guy on the field looking at the iPhone that has the final call in that situation. So why in that case, why are the guys that have the full screen TVs, several angles, why are they not helping their guys on the field out? I mean, it's just a lack of awareness. It's bad. Replay in sports is bad. I know you're for it, Dylan. I'm prominently against it because I think they get it. I don't think it's elevated the level of play since it's been implemented.
To your point there, I would wonder, just because that's a good point, I would wonder because the officials in Birmingham, we never see their face on the broadcast. Like they're nameless, they're faceless. And I mean, you see a replay official in the booth sometimes, but as far as like in a control center or whatever, so I don't know why they would be worried about somebody getting shown up when we don't know who they are. So you think it'd be pretty simple for them to just be like, hey, we can see it here. We're going to try to help you out here instead of everyone hating you at the end of the day.
Right. I think the first question to replay officials should be, do you hate this guy? And the answer should always be yes. You always assume he's wrong and you go into it thinking he's wrong.
Exactly.
And you reward him if he's right. Yeah. No, I hate replay for those reasons. So
I understand.
So then Baylor jumps on you in the top of the first. Definitely not ideal. Did not see that coming. But the way Tennessee responded, I mean, that's got to not only bring confidence to Chase Dollander, or Dollander for getting to come back out there clean slate, but also for the opposing team. It's just like, man, we just scored 4 runs and they scored 4 right back. I mean, that's demoralizing.
Couldn't even hold it for an inning. It's a new game after one inning.
Yeah, that was insane. And a lot of that was I think a lot of Oklahoma was a 2-out game. So Jordan Beck did hit the bomb with 2 outs. No, that was Oklahoma. I'm getting these games mixed up. I'm sorry. The first 4 batters for Tennessee and Baylor got a hit. And score 4 runs in that inning. Chase Dollander kind of settled in after that and looked fine. And then volley fingers. Kirby Cannell comes in there and shoves it.
I don't know if it's a 2-seamer or a circle change. I know the pitching ninja, one of my favorite followers on Twitter, he posted it's not a straight fastball. It's got that run to the outside against righties. It is a filthy pitch. I don't know if it's a 2-seam or a circle change, but whatever it is, keep throwing more of them, Raleigh.
Yeah, got that little tail on it, but he pitched 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks. I mean, like you just mentioned, nasty stuff. Having hitters off balance. I mean, when you don't have the overpowering stuff like a Dolander or a Burns or a Tidwell, you got to have some of those pitches. And Tennessee has a lot of arms that can do exactly that.
He's the crafty guy in the bullpen. Camden Sewell's kind of there a little bit. I mean, he's shown he can kind of dominate a little bit more than a guy like I forgot his Kirby. I was thinking Volley Fingers again. I forgot his real name. It's going to have to stick then. I mean, he's more of a Tom Glavine type to me. Maybe it's because he's a lefty. I see more of that, but he's later in his career. Tom Glavine, he wasn't going to overpower you with anything. When you don't have that, you have to have good stuff, and you have to be able to control it. And he was the MVP of Saturday for me because I mean, yeah, you came back, you got the lead while Dollander's still in. You made it a new game then, but with his pitch count getting high, you knew somebody was going to have to give you at least 2 quality innings, and he did. So he really stabilized the game, and I think stabilized the whole weekend after that little offensive outburst.
Yeah, 100%. You had 4 guys with multiple hits. Jared Dickey, I mean,
Machine.
Rakes. Had 3 himself, so, really good offensive output, after that game on Friday night. And it was Baylor's only loss of the weekend. They beat UCLA, who ended up beating Texas last night, and then they beat LSU last night. So really good win, it looks like, to knock off this Baylor team. And it seemed like a very similar game that Texas or Tennessee Tech, where they just kind of jumped on you. You came right back, scored your runs, made it even, and then just kind of went from there. I know we didn't get to finish that game, but it just had that same sort of vibe to me.
Kind of, yeah. It's Tennessee Tech felt a little bit more relaxed just because it's a midweek game. You were starting a guy that's probably not going to pitch for you much this year, but the Jared Dickey leading off with the double in the bottom of the first really set the tone for him for the whole weekend. Really, I think he struggled a little bit Sunday, but if it's like we said, we've got more guys. We'll get into Christian more as we talk about Oklahoma, but we've got so many guys that are fighting for 1 to 2 spots right now that it wins you games when guys are fighting for spots like that. Because Jared Dickey has shown that he is going to be in this lineup somehow if he keeps hitting like this. You can't take him out. Same thing with Christian Moore. It's you're going to have games where they're going to struggle and maybe they get pulled and somebody else comes in and lights a fire. I mean, it's trial by error, but there's not many errors so far. So a lot of good trials.
Props to this staff for just switching up that lineup a little bit. Didn't get what you wanted out of it Friday night, so hey, we're going to change it up. Jared Dickey, I mean, you're a kind of a backup catcher, DH, plays left field a little bit. I mean, when I look at him, I don't think of like a leadoff guy. But dude, when you can rake like that, when you can get on base, heck, we'll put you up there.
He's like a scrappy 7-hole hitter when I see him step up. I'm like, this guy at the bottom.
He's got the
lineup,
weird like open stance. Yeah,
he's just enough of a threat at the bottom of the lineup to where if you put a reliever in, you got to worry about there's that Dickey kid, but he's hitting a leadoff and he hits nukes to the wall too. So,
so get that win, 10-5 over Baylor, and then Oklahoma on Sunday. Man, Drew Mother Beam. He's the most underrated player on this team, and I don't think it's even close. I mean, when it was announced that he was a starter, I don't think anybody, unless you're kind of close to the program, really knew much about him, other than, he played at Blackman, played quarterback, stuff like that, but didn't think he would be – and he probably wouldn't be in this starting rotation or weekend starting rotation if, Tidwell, Halverson is probably healthy. But, man, is he showing he belongs.
Yeah, I mean, I even said it. I was the guy that I'm like, as soon as we get one of the other guys healthy, he's going to be the guy that gets pulled. I think he probably still will be, but, I mean, can you imagine you've got to go against Burns, Dollander, and Blade, Halverson, however we're going to mix and match those, 4 names there, and they'll say, against Tennessee Tech, somebody like that in the middle of the week, you're playing a team that you should easily handle. Hey, you got to go face Drew Beam, who just shut out the Sooners like that.
Yep.
That's filthy. That's not fair to other
And
teams.
it's just
Landon.
so like he doesn't have overpowering stuff either. But man, he sits 93, maybe touching 94, 95. But I mean, it stays at that velocity his entire outing. And he's so smooth with it and athletic. I mean, he makes some plays off the mound already this season. I'm just like, there's a quarterback in him.
Yeah.
There's an athlete. I mean, I think he was an athlete first, but man, he's turned into a pitcher real quick.
I was going to say, when I was watching against Oklahoma, I didn't know at first if maybe they didn't have a good scouting report on him, just because you would see so much when he would throw that fastball. I mean, like you said, it's 93 to 95. He's not throwing just meatballs down the middle, but I mean, that's not – we're seeing more of that in the game nowadays around that speed. But it was like so many times I would see the Oklahoma hitters, it's like it would surprise them at the very end. It's like his fastball's got so much late life on it that it probably looks like it was coming in about 88, 89, and it would just surprise them then. And it's like you said, there's not a ton of movement, anything like that. It's just it gets on you quicker than it looks like.
Yeah, there it is. There's the jacket. I guess we're watching some YouTube on here.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
There it is. Not that one.
Yeah.
That was one of his only 2 hits on the day.
Right.
I'm working.
Yeah,
on
he
it.
had 5.
We're getting to the good stuff. Hold on.
What a play.
There's the tag.
I mean,
it's easy. He's out.
Shout out Evan Russell, but that may be the most athletic play I've ever seen a second baseman make. That is not easy what he just did.
No.
Then he gets a nice rest, like you said, after replay for 10 minutes.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. But Drew Beam was phenomenal. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, no runs, 6 Ks. I mean, dude, he just like mixed it up. He was on Pitching Ninja as well. I mean, he has a nasty breaking ball.
Yeah.
And then he comes back with that high cheese at 94. And it's when you look at that breaking ball, he's got some off speed stuff. And then you come back with that high cheese. Good luck.
It's hard. That makes the fastball look faster too when you're sitting on it, and then he throws that curveball that I feel like it was. I mean, he went 5 innings. I feel like it was 4th or 5th inning. He threw one that it looked like it bounced in front of the plate nearly, and the guy still took just a full cut at it. So that's how you know it's working.
I like seeing the swords, the check swings that they had no business swinging the bat, just had the hitter fooled. There's a lot of those this weekend with Tennessee's pitchers. Yeah, Drew Beam was phenomenal. Jordan Beck opened up the game with 2 outs, first inning. I mean, that ball, if Minute Maid Park is not closed in on Sunday, that ball is still going.
Yeah, it's
hammered.
Their mascot is Orbit. I think it would still be in orbit.
And Jordan Beck, I mean, he barreled up every single ball he touched this weekend, but usually it was right to the center fielder. I mean, just effortless power. And, I know it's 410 dead center. I mean, a lot of those balls are against that back wall in Lindsey Nelson.
Yeah. I mean, did Jordan Beck have the most encouraging week out of anybody? I mean, the stats won't show it, but I don't remember him. I don't remember him making contact with anything that wasn't 100 miles an hour off the bat. I mean, everything his bat touched, he crushed it. Now,
yeah.
Did he get a hit every at bat? Did he have 7 bombs on the weekend? Tommy Tank, shout out. But I mean, if he keeps hitting them like that, I know it's discouraging right now, but we talked about Trey Lipscomb's play. We talked about, who's going to solidify the rotation, who are the guys in the bullpen. If Jordan Beck makes contact like that all year long, they're going to start falling, and the ones that don't fall are going to continue to travel into space, maybe a little bit past that. So that's just another one of those things that if that's working, it takes this team to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like he's going to be consistently doing that all year long. And when he's doing that, it's only a matter of time for he's getting his. It's kind of like I talk about on more important issues that any team Tennessee plays in basketball, their best player always gets theirs. Jordan Beck's going to get his. You got to stop everybody else too. That's going to be the hard part in this lineup. You're not going to stop Jordan Beck from, hitting piss rods all over the place. Can you stop the rest of them as well? And then Drew Gilbert tweaked a hamstring in Oklahoma and or against Baylor, and that was kind of the only reason I guess Christian Moore was kind of in the game.
Yeah. I didn't see then. How did he tweak it? I didn't see.
Just came out of the box funky, just running down first base. Just
okay.
Yeah, I mean, just tweaked it. I don't know. Just he was bouncing around the dugout, so he looked fine. Just kind of on rest, I guess. Don't want to make it any worse than it is. So
a hamstring's one of those things where I'd rather him miss a few games and maybe you drop one in that span, but make sure he actually gets it fully recovered than trying to push him back. And that's something that's happening all year, especially a guy that plays like him that's just 90-0 the whole time. I mean, I'd rather him sit for as long as he needs to. That way it's not middle of May and we're still dealing with this.
And he was 3 for 4 on the weekend. He was having a really solid. He barreled up some balls as well. Just didn't get to finish out. So he's not going to be my MVP, but he was probably on the way of doing so when you look at what Tennessee did on Sunday. But Christian Moore gets a start. And like you said earlier, it's going to be tough to keep him out of the lineup. He was 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, a triple away from the cycle, including that inside the park home run where, I mean, they didn't even make the throw.
I think he jogged the whole way.
Yeah.
Still.
He could have ran to first, maybe second again. Maybe got a couple more bases out of it.
I wish I could run like that.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? We probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But he's in his limited action, 5 for 12, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, batting .417. I mean, we kind of talked about he's making us look good because we talked about before the season he's probably your best newcomer. Now, I mean, you got Drew Beam and Chase Burns that are doing their thing, but Christian Moore is going to have his opportunities down the line, and it probably starts this week, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, does he have more RBIs than at bats this season? Is that a correct stat that I saw?
He has 12 at bats, 10 RBIs.
Okay, he's a monster. My main point being there, every time he steps in the box, it seems like something good happens, and he's right now. I thought about him, obviously, when I was thinking about my MVP pick. He didn't get it for me. I'll go ahead and say that just because of I'll list the reason in a minute. Just because, I mean, there are so many guys that can fill up in that spot right now that we're seeing that he did the most of what he could with his opportunity, but you just wonder, can he do it consistently and not – is he able to? Will he get the opportunity to? Just because there's so many guys that are hitting right now that are showing they should be in that last spot. So I want to pick one and say, hey, we're rolling with you, but that's why Tony Vitello makes more money than I do, because he's got to make that decision. So all the main concern facing the team right now is try to keep them happy so nobody transfers.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what you got to do. I mean, that's the reality of college sports now is you got to keep recruiting them while they're on campus as well. Christian Moore, going back to that, 4 out of his 5 hits are for extra bases. 3 are home runs, and he had a double in there as well. So, I mean, just an insane limited action, but he's a guy that it looks like he's going to get more opportunities. Maybe that was just, hey, we'll throw him out there. If he's doing well, it'll be fine. If he's not, then we'll put Drew Gilbert back in because Tony Vitello said after Oklahoma he could probably play on Sunday, but they're probably only going to play him if they needed him. And when you're not giving up any runs, you got a shutout going. There's no need to play Drew Gilbert. So good for Christian Moore. Good for him to get those opportunities and make the most out of it. This team is deep. You mentioned all the guys. I mean, I can't like you meant. There's guys that are just going to have to sit. Like there's just not enough room in the lineup for every single person that's producing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I flip a coin. That's how you do it. That's no one can get their feelings hurt then because right now I don't know how you would be in a position to hurt anybody's feelings because they're. I mean, you say, okay, we're going to go purely off stats. Well, Christian Moore is tearing the cover off the ball. Jared Dickey's tearing the cover off the ball. I just
they weren't opening day starters.
Yeah, we've seen. I mean, maybe he hasn't done it so far this year, but I feel like Kyle Booker's kind of been forgotten right now. I mean, who's to say those two don't struggle? You put Kyle Booker in, and he fully takes over the left field spot. Maybe Stevenson's struggling. I mean, you don't wish struggles on anybody, but at this point, that's the only way you're going to get a real clear answer, honestly. I mean, it's just because there's nothing else you can decide on right now.
Yeah, keep riding that hot hand. It looks like maybe Trey Liscombe came down from heaven a little bit.
Just kind of had to happen eventually.
Yeah, we'll take it. As long as he's good to go for SEC play, that's all that matters.
I mean, there's only so much pop in a bat. I don't care who you are, and it's like a video game. He's got to let it regenerate a little bit. He held on the turbo for too long. He nearly hit back-to-back cycles. Multiple.
He's getting run down by a defensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean, give him a break for a second.
Yeah. But yeah, we talked about how deep this team is, and we talked about a lot of freshmen. Jared Dickey's a redshirt freshman. We talked about Christian Moore, Drew Beam, Chase Burns. I mean, the future is bright on Rocky Top for Tennessee baseball, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, especially with Vitello at the helm. It's fun. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy seeing it. I enjoy seeing Blake Burke is another one. He went freaking Oppo Taco and this weekend. I mean, when he gets a hold of one, it's going out.
He is a terrifying individual. I'll just say it right now. He scares the life out of me.
Yeah. But man, what a young core this team has, and you got guys like, who are some sophomores? Kyle Booker is a guy. Is Kirby a sophomore?
I think he's junior.
Red shirts. Okay, red
shirt sophomore, maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's a third year.
Gotcha.
Maybe.
Xander Sechrist, another guy.
Christian Scott, I wanted to make sure not to forget him with the bomb to left field. I mean, I feel like he's kind of a guy that probably feels a little bit left out with just, like you said, all the freshmen. But, I mean, he goes opposite field. I know it's the short porch in left field. That's what everybody's saying. It's the same short porch that Jordan Beck nearly hit it completely out of the stadium over it. But, I mean, Christian Scott had a decent weekend. That's a guy that I kind of forgot about, honestly. I mean, not even in a bad way, but you've got so many options. You're like, oh yeah, he's played for us before. Like, he's got experience. That's somebody else that showed out a little over the weekend.
I thought Evan Russell hit the ball well. I mean, we thought he would kind of die off a little bit being behind the plate, but it seems to not really affect him too much. Had that home run against Texas. I think he has 3 on the year or something, 2 or 3 on the year or something like that. Threw some guys out. Not as much as we probably like. I think that's the one thing. Let me ask you this. Evan Russell, great weekend. What's the biggest weakness of this team that you've seen so far?
It's Evan Russell behind the plate. Just, I mean, the one he threw out at second, like we were talking about with the review earlier, good recovery and a decent throw, but I mean, Jarrell Ortega got you that out. I mean, that's just an athletic play. We saw it more over this weekend. We get into SEC play, and I feel like it's going to be a pretty big burden as far as keeping people off the bases, because if they see it, we've seen it. If they see a chance to steal, they're going to steal, and they're going to do it until Evan Russell consistently throws them out. I mean, I don't think he looked bad back there again, but he looks like a guy that hasn't played much catcher. Just being honest. I mean, he handles the staff well. I thought. I mean, he got shout outs from Pav on that. I think it was the 101-mile-an-hour pitch that he stuck right at the knees, framed it perfectly. I mean, I saw that and I was like, that's beautiful. Yeah. But it's the other part of the game where I'm concerned, where if teams know that they can take off on you and they start doing it, especially when Dollander's on the mound, who just doesn't have a quick motion anyway, it's that worry. That's the only real weakness I see so far.
Yeah, that's mine too. And it has really nothing to do with Evan. I mean, it's kind of just unfortunate that he is in that position, and he's played better than I thought.
Yeah.
He has thrown out a couple kids, but you can't have 7 stolen bases in a game like you did on Saturday against Baylor. That just can't happen, especially when things are going to get tight in the SEC. That just can't happen.
There's going to be games where the offense isn't 7-8 runs a game. It's going to be a 3-2 kind of game, and that one run can be the difference. And against a team like Vandy, Arkansas, I mean, I know we don't play Arkansas this year, I don't think, in regular season, but teams with good players and good athletes to back it up too. I mean, I know you're in the SEC, you got a lot of good athletes, but especially teams that do it consistently. That's a stolen base, though it seems really small, can be the difference between a game like that. So I don't know what we're going to do when we get there. Just I hope Blade Tidwell is back and we keep them off the bases. So,
yeah, that's a good thing about having one of the best pitching staffs in the country is, a lot of the times you don't have to worry about them getting on base, but when they are getting on base, it seems like there's, a pattern where they're taking off. So, I'm sure, SEC has the best coaches in America, so they're absolutely going to see that and take advantage of it. So got to get better, got to improve on it. And I think he's only going to get better the more he plays. Yeah, just got to do it consistently. I can't say that word. I don't know why I can't, but I can.
You can't consistently say consistently.
I can't. No, it's weird. It's just not in my brain. But yeah, that's kind of the only weakness I have, other than, you can't have, that top of the lineup has to be stout. That's why you were so good last year. Ferguson, Rucker, Spence. If you don't have that production up there, I'm not saying they have to hit 800 like Jared Dickey was at one point, but you need a guy that can get on base I wouldn't say most, but, batting around 400, 350, something like that.
I'd love to see it be Seth Stevenson just with his speed, because that's you get on base and you're immediately a threat to get in scoring position and score right there. But, I mean, we saw it with Liam Spence. He wasn't just a blazer on the base paths, but he got on base all the time. So if that's Jared Dickey, I don't care how fast. I mean, Jared Dickey's not slow, certainly, but an added weapon up at the top like that can get on base consistently is very dangerous. But yeah, if Jared Dickey's going to hit 800 the whole year, he could trip and still just stay at first base every time.
Put him at the top.
Yeah.
Logan James is another guy they'd love to get going.
Yeah.
Just hasn't yet to this point.
That was my pick to win the DH job.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. Super excited. We'll go MVP real quick, and then we'll kind of close this thing out.
Mine, I'll go Drew Beam, just because 5 innings, 2 hits, 6 strikeouts against Oklahoma. I mean, we were worried. We said it before the year who was going to step up when Halverson and Tidwell were out, and he's shown that even though he's a freshman, even though he's still pretty young as far as a baseball player, as far as a baseball career goes. I mean, we mentioned high school quarterbacks who, he wasn't purely focused on it, missed time with COVID like everybody hasn't played much baseball
Yeah, Tommy
recently.
John last year.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that, I mean, he hasn't pitched over 10 games in maybe his career since Little League. And you go out there in a big league park against Oklahoma and you put on a show like that. I mean, it's like you said, more of the just insanely talented freshman that we have. And that's a guy that I feel like my opinion of him completely changed over the weekend. Not that I had a poor opinion before, just as far as what his ceiling can be. I saw a whole new level that he can go to.
Yeah. I like that one. And what I like the most about this staff is they throw strikes. 53 of Drew Beam's 68 pitches on Sunday were strikes. That's winning baseball. That's what that is. That's what Frank Anderson wants. That's why Drew Beam is in the position that he is. He throws strikes and does a great job doing that. I'm going to go another pitcher. Volley Fingers. Kirby. The stash.
Yeah.
Chase Dollander didn't have it. Or I wouldn't say didn't have it. He settled in nicely, but only pitched those 3 innings. And then Kirby just was huge down the stretch. I mean, only giving up 1 run in those 4 2/3 inning when, he doesn't really go more than 2 or 3 innings. And they just kept riding him. He just kept going out there and producing. They kept riding him. They weren't going to make the same mistake twice and, shorten an outing that probably could have won another inning. They let him go as long as he needed to go. And that was a big key to Saturday. And I think that led to that momentum into Sunday as well.
Absolutely. A benefit that you don't think of a lot with having so much depth is you give, because sometimes you pull guys early in the year like that just because you're like, well, we don't want to overwork them this early. We don't want to risk injury. And yeah, you don't want to get anybody hurt, but you have so much depth that it allows you to say, hey, Kirby, go throw another inning.
Yeah. If
you tweak something, guess what? We got 5 other guys that are coming in right now that can take over for you. So it allows a lot of guys to build confidence and get to a next level just because the staff has the benefit of being able to do that now.
Yeah, and it's got to give them some confidence when you give up 4 runs and your offense comes back and scores 4 right after that. So love to see that. Love to see this team still competing. Top 10 team. Can't take it away from us. We're here now, and I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. This weekend, you got James Madison tomorrow and Wednesday. They're okay. Rhode Island, one of the worst teams in college baseball. Probably not as bad as Iona, but they are 0-10 on the year so far. So could be another long weekend. But probably a lot of bombs, get a lot of people some looks. So we'll see. I'm excited to see this team play again. I heard the weather's not going to be great, so that kind of sucks. But, hey, we're getting all the bad weather out of the way come SEC play. That next weekend is going to be South Carolina, so let's tune everything up and get ready for the Gamecocks open up SEC play.
I'd rather it be sunny and 75 then. If we're gonna play Rhode Island, they can bring the Rhode Island weather with them. We'll deal with that.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't take a bus from Rhode Island. That's a far drive.
I'm not sure I know where Rhode Island's at, to be honest with you.
It's somewhere up there.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, not anywhere I want to be for sure.
No.
Caleb, you got anything?
No, I think you guys hit it all. So
all right, perfect.
Good. I'm out.
Guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back next Monday talking about this weekend and the rest of the week. Y'all have a good rest of your week, and go Vols. Peace.